I'm one of the, actually, I should probably introduce myself again now that the recording started. So I'm Deanna Garola. I'm one of the career counselors here at SMC. I'm excited to share this information with you guys. And I'm so glad it's being recorded so that you can go back and watch this stuff at your leisure, refer back to certain things. I am going to reference a lot of different material in this presentation. So, knowing that it's recorded, hopefully will make it a little bit more calm so that you don't have to like scribble your notes. Okay, let's go ahead and start. No worries, Hennessy, everything's fine. You're awesome. Okay, let's do this. So at certain points of this presentation, I would love to ask questions to you guys, and hopefully we'll get a few more people, but I'm happy to have you all here that are here. But if you also have questions, I'm not always able to see the little hand raise, especially if I'm kind of like going off my slides here. I'm not always able to see the hand raise, so if you can unmute yourself and say, excuse me, like I have a question, or like somehow get my attention, I'm definitely wanting to see like if there's something urgent. I know that I think you can also we're doing questions in the chat too, right, Hennessy? That we could do at the end as well, I think.
Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, you guys can go ahead and put them in the chat. And towards the end, Deanna, I don't know what your preference is, but any questions that were asked in the chat, if you haven't answered them yet, you can just go ahead and answer them towards the end.
Perfect. So that's great. Let's go ahead and like stay with that then. I think that's fine. Yeah, because otherwise it just won't go that smoothly. We'll keep stopping and starting and stuff. So we're in the job search strategies in this remote world workshop here. So these are the things we're going to learn today. I bet you didn't know you're going to learn about job scams, but I do think it's important to kind of mention how to avoid them right now because a lot of people are applying for different jobs online and remotely. And I want to make sure that students are aware what to look for, red flags, and making sure that you don't get roped into something like that. And then, of course, we're going to be looking at strategies on finding jobs remotely and hopefully giving you some wonderful resources. So first, I want to know, and I know there's only a couple people in here, but is there any like burning question you have about job searching that we could ask right now?
My biggest concern is I'm a cosmetology student and I've been trying to find work regarding like beauty maybe and retail because I want to boost my customer service and maybe computer skills. But in the time of COVID-19, it's becoming a serious concern. So that's my biggest questions on that.
Okay. Interesting. I used to be a makeup artist, so I feel you on the whole cosmetology thing. So I understand what that's like. So we might need to have our own like private like session so that I can help you particularly.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Because cosmetology is definitely its own world for sure. But yeah, thank you, Leona, right?
Yes.
All right. So specific to industry, that seems to be something that, was kind of a question there. So we're just going to go over really quickly to kind of how to beware of job scams and what job scams kind of look like. So I found this quote that I thought was funny. There are so many scams on the internet nowadays, and me 1995, and I'll tell you how to avoid them. So, I love quotes. But here's some common types of job scams: reshipper or package processor, product assembler, anything that's asking you to put things together. Never send money. I'm sure you probably already know that, but never send money. Mystery shopper, never pay a fee to start again. The small deposit, that they'll send you a small deposit and put it in your bank account to get you started. That's often a red flag. Envelope stuffer, don't pay for materials or buy a mailing list. Again, that's still you putting out stuff, putting out funds. And a lot of job scams impersonate big industries like Amazon and Walmart. So do a little bit of research when you're looking at, things that might be too good to be true. So some warning signs that you can also look for: claiming that you'll make thousands of dollars each week. I'm sure we would all love to have that happen, but often that's just not something that's going to be legit. You notice typos, misspellings, poor grammar, and or website link doesn't actually go to the company. I've noticed this before with job postings that when I used to look for jobs, and I never actually really thought about it. I mean, it was kind of a flag in my brain Why is that misspelled? Why does that look weird? And it must have been jobs I obviously didn't pursue, but that was probably something I shouldn't have pursued. It probably wasn't legit. So you're asked to send a resume, but there is no specific job posting. That's something you probably don't want to pursue. You're asked to pay for training, an app fee, or background check, or required to purchase items up front. See, I even have a typo in there. So that's also a red flag. Email address isn't quite right. They're using a Gmail or Yahoo, and or company is spelled incorrectly in the email. That might be something that we don't necessarily see. We might not be looking at, that this person is, Steve at target.com and Target is spelled without a T or something. So make sure you're just paying attention to details like that. Hiring manager contacts you via text only. In this day and age, I know things are kind of informal, but you still might want to be a little hesitant about that and not email. And can you find these people on LinkedIn? That's a really simple way to kind of do your research as well. LinkedIn is so great. I mean, we're going to talk about that more later, but it has a lot of different benefits. So ads that mention Amazon, Walmart, Target, but don't include specific location for the job. I don't know if any of you have come in contact with this. I know I have when I've been helping students look for jobs. We'll see something really, really great, and then we can't, and it'll be associated with one of these companies, but it won't tell us what location it's at, which is kind of weird. So keep those in mind too. So how to avoid being a victim. Do verify the person you're communicating with. Make sure you are dealing with a real company. Find job posting on the company website. A lot of us use these third-party websites, which we'll talk about later too, but like Indeed, Career Builder, Monster, all of those. I always suggest that students go directly to the company to look and see the actual job posting. So if you want to work at Starbucks and you see it on Indeed, I would actually go to Starbucks, the website, and find it there too and apply through there. So that's always kind of making sure, that it's a safe bet that that job is actually posted. Don't use your primary email when applying. Now, I kind of want to clarify this. A lot of us have multiple emails, but they suggested in the article I was reading to actually create a new email that's like your name plus jobs, like the word jobs, so that you just use this one email to keep track of communication, with applying for all different kinds of jobs, and just use the email for that reason. Don't ever give out bank info or social security number, credit card. I think that's kind of common sense, but sometimes we still need to say that. And don't send money or cash a check that they've given you, okay? So what do you do if you see one or already fell into a job scam? And many students have fallen into this, which is why we're kind of stressing this. So notify your bank, report it to the Better Business Bureau and the Federal Trade Commission, and contact the job board that you might have seen it on. So if you saw it on Indeed or something like that, there are ways that you can contact those people and tell them, hey, this isn't a good thing. Tell people, get it off the board. Okay. Right. So that's enough on how to avoid job scams. I just feel better in telling you guys that before we go into actual job search strategies. So now we're going to go ahead and go. Hi, Nicole. I just saw that you're in there. So it is said that winners don't do different things, they just do things differently. So I love that quote and kind of all the research I've been doing. Some of this stuff might seem like common sense to you, but you might not have really thought about it, because sometimes the best thing isn't the easiest thing. So I found this chart, which kind of, Lisa, you'll probably be interested in this too. We're so about resumes and doing informational interviews and all that as career counselors. In fact, we do so many appointments with students with resume, and oftentimes I will see a student 2 to 3 times at least with regards to their resume. And they're saying now that not to spend so much time on resume. And I'm sure you guys could, if you look at this chart, the little tiny circle, the blue circle with time, that's the amount of time you're supposed to be spending on resume, writing it, uploading it. And then the biggest circle, the orange circle, is networking and generating referrals. When I look at it like this, I never really would have, I want to share this with my students because I just never really would have thought of how to split up your time when you're job searching, and that the littlest amount of time should be spent on resume. Now, I'm not saying like just scribble it out and and submit it, but it doesn't have to necessarily be perfect. And I had a student today who was saying she was letting go of her perfectionism. You might be wasting time trying to make that resume just so perfect. And we are going to talk about the keys, like real quick keys on resume, just tailoring it, because I know we have workshops on resume and you could definitely make appointments with us one-on-one to do resume. But just keep in mind the other stuff that you could be spending your time on that could be helping your job search strategy, expand, go faster, rather than spending all that time on your resume, which is not the most fun. I get it. So strategy number 1, get clear on what you want and learn to prioritize. So before you even start your job search strategy, it's really important that you ask yourself some of these questions, like how much stability do you need? I mean, in this day and age right now with COVID and working remotely, some of us, have jobs that we've figured out we don't necessarily even need to go anywhere again. We could stay remotely permanently if that was a possibility with our employers. And then some of us do plan on going back, to a brick and mortar type job. So what kind of schedule do you want? What kind of company culture are you looking for? Do you want to work remote permanently or just during the pandemic? And then at the bottom in the blue letters, I have transition from an academic mindset to an industry one and learn to do most important tasks first. So you guys are college students, right? I'm sure you're used to being a student. You're used to delving deep with a subject matter and spending some time and completing a project. Develop an industry mindset, meaning learning to prioritize and be efficient and do a task and be done with it and move on to the next thing. So that'll make sense when we talk about more of our strategies here. So strategy number 2, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's something I definitely could take that advice from myself. But utilize your connections, no matter how small, okay? This could be friends, this could be family members. Oftentimes we get nervous about networking when in reality we're already doing it. And if you want to slap that label of networking on it, great. But if not, you could be networking just by talking to your friends and saying, hey, I'm thinking of getting into, business analytics. Like, do you know anybody that knows anything about that? So utilize your connections. Don't be afraid. 70 to 80% of jobs, you guys, are found through networking. That's why I put it in yellow, 70 to 80%. So if you're not networking, you're missing a big piece of the pie there, right? So get on LinkedIn. You may already have connections. If you don't know about LinkedIn, that's something we can talk about in a one-on-one appointment. We definitely have workshops, but that is a great and easy way to network and to also learn about really cool companies and read articles. Companies versus positions. So with this, instead of going after, hey, do they have that receptionist position? I want to be a receptionist. Like, let's just type in receptionist and look at all the receptionist positions that come up in my area. Instead, think about companies you'd like to work for. What are some, stores that you like to shop at? What are some, company cultures that you appreciate? I mean, for example, I would say Trader Joe's. Every time I go into that grocery store, everybody always seems so friendly. The atmosphere is just really just light. So, I mean, if I were looking to be, some kind of office administrator, let's say, or clerical, I might actually consider going to Trader Joe's website and seeing where their corporate offices are and if I could work there. So that's what we mean by companies versus positions. Maybe look at companies first. So just think about your industry, think about everyone in your life and how they could help you with looking into different job positions and opportunities. Focus on relationships. I say relationships in big letters there, because oftentimes we forget that networking is a give and take, okay? And oftentimes you might have to give before you get to take, okay? So don't ever go after people and be like, so, do you know somebody that'll hire me? Can you hire me? Do you have an internship position open? You really want to focus on how can I be of help and grow this relationship with this person, and give them something that I have to give that I can help them with. So at the bottom there, I put host a job search party, but none of you've ever thought of that, huh? So this is a new thought for me to see, and I actually had to read about it to figure out how you do that. But one person, and this probably might work for Leona, one person that you're interested in an industry, you start thinking about anybody in the industry that's close to you that might have some sort of tie to that, and you invite them. Now, I know in the age of COVID, we have to make sure we're all vaccinated before we do this in person, but you could probably do it remotely as well. So you get together people that are in an industry, you invite them, and then, they're excited to make, network connections to come to this. You're getting to see all these people, and then you make a presentation, a small informal presentation in front of these people and tell them, hey, I've talked a little bit to each of you. This is what I could contribute to your company. And then, that's you're giving something there, right? And you're going to receive something back too. But it's kind of a cool way to do your own networking thing versus looking for networking events in your area. Do your own networking event. Why not, right? Seize the day. So strategy number 3, follow the right sites and groups. So I know Facebook is probably not something this generation touches upon too much, but I wasn't aware that there are groups, and I gave you some examples there, digital nomad jobs. I went searching for that, and now I'm getting notifications about jobs popping up. So I don't know what I did, probably need to get out of that. But there's a digital nomad jobs group. There's a remote jobs group that you could belong to on Facebook, and you'll get notified for jobs that are being posted. If you're a Twitter person, some of those examples there are at Jobspresso and at We Work Remotely. And then the Muse is one of my favorite websites, you guys. There's so many resources on there. A lot of the information for this presentation came from there. They have just all kinds of career topics, and they really, their wording, it's entertaining the way they write. So it's easy to lose a couple hours on that site, I will say that. So strategy number 4, know what employers are looking for. So I ask you guys, let's see if you guys want to throw something out there. What do you think employers want in a remote worker?
Experience.
Experience. Awesome. Anyone else want to throw anything in there? No? So we have experience as one. How about trustworthiness? Now we're thinking about remote working. So you want to be someone who can understand what the challenges are that an employer might be concerned about, right? In having a remote employee. Are they going to be a self-starter? Because obviously they're not over here checking in on you, right? Being able to knock on your cubicle wall there and see, hey, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? A good communicator, right? Because if something's wrong or you don't understand something, they need to know that you're going to reach out to make sure that something's done correctly. Okay. What makes you the ideal candidate? Okay, I'm missing an L there. Obviously, I got to change that. So are you self-motivated? Are you organized? And do you understand the challenges of working remotely, which is what I just hit upon? Okay. So here's some other stuff. We talked about resume briefly. Customize and tailor your resume. And I put a little hint there. Look at the job description. I have so many students that I see in my resume appointments that have not really utilized the job description to make their resume tailored to that position. So you should not be creating a resume that is cookie cutter and you're going to apply to 50 jobs with that resume, okay? You should be making resumes that are particular to each job, volunteer experience, internship that you apply for. And the way you do that is to look at that description and highlight the words they're using, highlight the verbs, highlight what you connect with, and then somehow put that in your resume, okay? Keep an eye on trends, and I'm going to give you some industries to keep an eye on at the end of this that right now are really just blooming, okay? Know your technology. And when I say know your technology, I'm not saying go take some tech classes, although you could do that, but I'm saying try out your Zoom capabilities. Make sure you're familiar with it if you're not somebody who's used them before or any kind of platform that you're going to be using, because if you're using that to interview or do something to do with your job, it's so much easier to make sure that you're confident in that before it's the actual moment of your interview or your actual first day of working on a new job. Okay, so that's what we mean by saying know your technology. So strategy number 5, know thyself. Okay, so meet with a career counselor, yay, do a mock interview, get your resume looked at, know your skills and identify and fill gaps. So when we say this, I'm a huge fan of looking into these. I haven't done any of these courses yet, so I'm not I haven't actually followed through with my goals yet. But Udemy, Skillshare, LinkedIn for SMC students has like the LinkedIn Learning, I believe. Like if you look at, like, I forget what it's called. Maybe one of you can tell me, Hennessy or Lisa, the I think it's called LinkedIn Learning, where they can do their own classes and everything, and it's for free. It's kind of like Udemy and Skillshare. So, and then obviously take a career planning class like Counseling 12, which is an awesome class.
Are you talking about the Linda classes that they offer?
Yeah, it was Linda, but it's called something else now. But yes, it was lynda.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's opportunities for extended learning through SMC, you being a student. So take advantage of that. And that stuff is free. It is free to take those extra classes. And you don't have to necessarily do homework. You know, it's not like taking an SMC class. It's something that's just at your own rate, and something that you could definitely still put on your resume that you're certified in or that you took a class in. It shows initiative, which is important because you take an interview, questions, workshop about what employers are going to be asking you after this pandemic. One of them is going to be, what extra stuff have you done? So let's review some concepts. Do stay open to job opportunities that may not be in your industry. We kind of mentioned that. Do utilize LinkedIn to create a profile, to network, to research companies, to read career articles. Do value your relationships and realize that networking is a give before a take, and never ask people to get you hired, okay? Don't spend too much time on your resume, but tailor it. Use buzzwords and make it ATS friendly. So if you don't know what ATS is, that's applicant tracking software. So you want to make sure that your resume is making it through the applicant tracking software, the computer system, so that it's actually getting to a human eye, okay? Because that is what a lot of our resumes are going through, because there's so many resumes for a lot of jobs. So this might be a surprise to you guys, because this was a surprise to me. Don't apply for one job at a time. Apply for 30 to 40 at a time. It keeps you from being fixated on one job and wondering, when am I going to hear from them? When am I going to hear from them? Why didn't I get it? Okay. So don't hesitate. Reach out to recruiters or hiring managers first and send an email with your application that increases response by 3 times. So what does that mean, send an email with your application? Send an email, introduce yourself. It's kind of like a miniature cover letter, like, hey, this is who I am, super excited about your company, you know, this is why I want to work here, kind of thing. And you're more likely to get a response. So why not, right? So here are some key industries to watch. We have the tech industry, customer service, and these are industries that I literally typed in, you know, industries with growth during 2021, okay, 2020, 2021. So the tech industry, that's kind of obvious. A lot of businesses have gone online, have gone to remote stuff. And surprisingly, when we look at customer service, they were saying in the article I was reading that the tech industry and all of the businesses that have gone online still need customer service people to do that, like to tie the in-between, right? To help customers who are unsatisfied, to clarify how to work something. That's still a need, okay? The financial tech industry, that's online banking, okay? So that's what we're talking about when we say financial tech industry, is the online banking industry, which is not going anywhere. Reusable energy. With the new administration that we have now, they're really big on the environment. So that's going to be a big push that they see coming. Healthcare industry. I don't think I really need to explain that one, but we will always need healthcare workers. And then delivery and transportation services, because I know I have Amazon almost coming to my house almost every day. Besides that, and Instacart. So yeah, that makes sense. All right. So for those of you that are like, just give me the resources, here's some really cool apps that I noticed that would help, not just doing the job search thing, but also to help keep track of your job search, which is important, especially if you're applying to 30 to 40 jobs at a time, right? So on the left side, we have top apps to keep track of job search. We have Hunter, Jibberjobber, and Job Track. A lot of these things were new to me. And then of course I put their little logos here. So if you're looking through the App Store, you can see what's supposed to look like. So the top job search apps, we have Indeed, big surprise. We talk about that one all the time at SMC. Career Builder, Glassdoor, Snag a Job, Good.co, and Simply Hired. Some of you might have heard of those before, but those are the top right now. With regards to keeping track of job search, I'll give you a little example. Remember how I talked about how much I love Muse, right? The website. So they have these really cool downloadable documents that you could actually for free that you can download. This is an example of their job tracker. So, and you could set this up on your own. I realize you don't have to download anything, but this is something that's just there for you if you want it. But this is what I'm talking about when you're applying for 30 to 40 jobs. Much easier to keep track of stuff. So when somebody calls you, you can pull up this website, this Excel spreadsheet, and be like, okay, this is so and so calling from that company. Okay, now I know what I applied for, because there's nothing more embarrassing than somebody calling you and you'd be like, who are you? They're probably going to hang up, right? So keeping track of what you've done is super, super important and lowers your stress level too. Makes you feel kind of on top of things, right? So this, so what I love about this video is just that Jason here is giving us clues as to where things could be going. So I know that I don't know if the workshop already happened that we're having here at SMC about learning to tell your story through, interviewing and all that. I don't know if it's happened yet, but if it hasn't happened, put that on your calendar, look at our events, and make sure that you take that workshop, because that's something that I know that I believe strongly in as a teacher of Counseling 12. I'm constantly sharing stories of my life and examples with students. And I can see in my class when I start to get personal with an experience from my life, and students get a little bit more engaged. You just see it in the classroom, it's a little bit more obvious, but on Zoom, I see it too. So that would happen with employers as well in an interview. You don't want to get, of course, too uncomfortably personal, but bringing humanity into your conversations when you're interviewing is something that definitely will connect you with the other humans sitting across from you, right? So let's see here. Oops, wait. Okay, so that's all I had today, but I also want to make sure as we're answering questions and I'm able to put up my resources here in case you wanted to take some kind of note or picture of that. I know that we recorded this so that you're able to kind of look at this on your own, but these are some really, really helpful websites. As you see, the Muses up there like a million times. The chart I think that I had on there was from Cheeky Scientist, which I don't know if that's on here. It's definitely on the picture. At the bottom of the picture. And Career Contessa is something that us career counselors definitely look at, but I believe that that is specific to females. So it's career help for females, which is kind of exciting. I do think that it's overall, the information I saw on there could be applicable to both genders, but I still think it's kind of cool to have a website like that. I'm sure there's multiple websites out there like that, but that's all I have for you all. So thank you so much for coming, and let's go ahead and open up for questions.
Can I just say, I'm gonna put in the chat our hours for our office, our YouTube link, as well as our Instagram link. Also information on how to book an appointment with any of our counselors. You can talk to them about like resumes, what your major, like what types of jobs you can get with your major and all of that. So the information will be in the chat.
Okay, cool. I have our phone number here too. Put it up on the screen. Do we have any questions?
Oh, and also, if you guys could take this quick poll, we'd appreciate it.
How cute. Look at a little poll like pops up. Good job, Hennessy.
Also, I'm gonna stop the recording just so if you guys feel more comfortable that way to be able to ask questions.
Thank you.